Good evening, hello, and welcome to this special broadcast. For any nation, children are the dearest, the hope and foundation for the future. In this deadly pandemic, the special interest of children, their vulnerabilities, should be taken care of. We're calling them COVID orphans, the children who have lost both their parents. What's their future? Does it call for a relook at the tedious adoption processes and the laws in this country? More importantly, is adoption the sole solution to the problem? Now, let me add another layer to this discussion. A recent report of the United Nations on Human Rights pointed out that there is a direct link between the pandemic, socio-economic vulnerability, and the risk of exploitation. Orphans are more vulnerable to trafficking, child labor, dropouts out of school, the threat of sex trade, exploitation, bonded labor. Multiple international reports have pointed out that this is a scenario that we need to take care of. Out of school children to double as parents lose job. This is the second layer of the problem other than being orphaned, which we are likely to witness. Undernourished kids at heightened risk of COVID-19. Undernourishment, the migrant crisis have a direct impact on child survival. The fact that whether they will go to the school or they will not go to the school. Now, what exactly are laws in this country? What are the statutes and acts that govern the adoption process? We discussed the various contours of this debate. Is adoption really the sole solution? What are the other alternate mechanisms that we need to look at? But before that, here's a special report about the adoption laws and the legal framework that governs the country. Various images are viral on social media narrating the heartbreaking story of children losing both their parents to COVID-19. The number of children who are orphaned has now sparked a fresh debate. Is it time to simplify the adoption process? The authorities were quick to flag such posts, pointing out that proper procedure and safeguards under the Juvenile Justice Act need to be followed. Each child needs to be adopted only through proper welfare committees and their due approval. The National Commission for Child Protection Rights insists that the local child welfare committees have been alerted and any help, whether it's social or financial, can only be given through these committees. For now, there is no possibility that these stringent adoption rules will be watered down.
हमारा एडॉप्शन की जो प्रोसेस है उसमें ड्यू डिलिजेंस बच्चे की प्राइवेसी भी उसका अधिकार है। लोग बात सजेस्ट करते हैं कि हम अपने बच्चों के साथ इन बच्चों को पढ़ाएंगे स्कूल में। अरे आपकी भावना अच्छी हो सकती है, लेकिन उस बच्चे की एक समाज है, उस बच्चे की एक सोसाइटी है, उनके स्कूल होंगे, उनके दोस्त होंगे, उनका एक पूरा का पूरा वातावरण होगा। आप उखाड़ देंगे ऐसे।
The law in the country is defined in the Juvenile Justice, the Care and Protection Act 2015. The adoption procedure laid down poses a thorough analysis and background check for individuals willing to adopt. Government authorities insist that the adoption procedure has various steps only to safeguard the interest of children. Experts say being orphaned is only one part of the problem. In this pandemic, more children are likely to be pushed into child labor or will be vulnerable to trafficking as deaths mount in rural areas. NGOs like Bachpan Bachao Andolan support the stringent procedure around adoption. It is suggested that to look at the overall welfare of children, focus should shift from adoption to financial assistance. Tailored solutions are a must to take care of every child's need.
Most importantly is whenever you see a child who needs any kind of help, my request will be please report either to the police or 1098 is the child line number. Report the child to on that call, give them a call and inform them. So their child comes to the safety net of the agencies who are there to protect.
But if you're willing and interested to help a child who has lost his or her parents, there are ways available for you to assist. Reach out to the helpline of the NCPCR or contact the district magistrate if you financially want to support a child. Each police station has a dedicated police officer for child protection. When you report a child to the authorities, you put them under a legal protection net. Anusha Soni for CNN News 18. So how to help the orphans? What is the procedure that we can simplify? Is it time to relook at the adoption laws in the country? That's our focus. But before that, a quick piece of breaking news coming in. Well, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram have been put on notice. On February 25, 2021, the Government of India and the Ministry of Electronics and IT notified new rules and gave 3 months to all social media companies to comply with the new rules. Except one social media company, Koo, none of the significant social media intermediaries have complied so far. Maria Shakil getting us this information. Maria, what is the step that the government can take if the social media companies do not comply?
Yes, these rules, in fact, come into effect on 26th May 2021, that is day after tomorrow. And if social media companies do not obey with these rules, they may lose their status and protection as intermediaries, because all these platforms work as intermediaries, not as news or media platforms, and hence they will then become liable for criminal action as per existing laws of India, which includes that Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And that is the big challenge that they have before them. And the compliance, if you remember what was passed, was what was notified by the Electronic Ministry on 25th of February was that they have to have a grievance redressal. They have to have officers and contact addresses in India. They should also, there should be a policy particularly on removal or disabling of information. All that has to be done in a 3-month window. So it was notified on February 25th. That ends tomorrow on May 25th. And that is the reason why if these companies, most of them have not complied with the Government of India's notification, then they will certainly now face that question whether they can continue to operate in India.
Under the IT rules and the IT Act, you can take coercive action. The Government of India has the authority to do so. Let's see what happens on that front. But now coming back to our debate, and the larger question that we were talking about, a lot of children in our country have lost both of their parents. What is the solution? How we as a society, as a system, can help these children? Is adoption the sole solution, or we need to look at the problem more deeply? Joining us on the broadcast is Priyank Kanungo. He is the chairperson of National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. We also have Mr. Kulbir Krishnan. He is the former DGP, former member of the NCPCR. Dhananjay Tingle, he is the executive director of Bachpan Bachao Andolan. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the broadcast. My simple question to begin with, Priyank, I'll begin with you. Is adoption the sole solution to the number of orphans, the number of people who are children who are losing their parents? Is streamlining, simplifying the process of adoption the sole solution, or we need to look at a problem from a different angle?
I must say that adoption is not the only option for rehabilitation of these children. There are so many things, and this pandemic is not like tsunami or earthquake, where children lost each and everything. We have lost entire villages, entire habitations. It is not like that kind of calamity. यहाँ पर बच्चों ने माता पिता को भले ही खोया है, लेकिन उनके घर हैं, परिवार हैं, रिश्तेदार हैं, ये सभी लोग बच्चों के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं. इन द एज ऑफ 12, 13, 14, 15, जब एडोलेसेंट एज होती है, जब थोड़ी समझदारी की एज होती है, जब उनके साथ सिबलिंग्स होते हैं, छोटे भाई बहन होते हैं, उस स्थिति में बच्चों को एडॉप्शन में दिया जाना पॉसिबल नहीं होता. हर बच्चे को एडॉप्शन में देना इस प्रॉब्लम का सॉल्यूशन नहीं है. हर बच्चे का इंडिविजुअल केयर प्लान बनाना एक प्रोसेस है, and where child welfare committees who are responsible for this for implementation of individual care plan and preparing of these plans on the basis of social investigation.
So Priyank, according to you, there is no need to change the adoption laws in the country. My simple question to you, because many people are saying it takes about 3 to 5 years to adopt a child.
Example here. I want to give an example here. In year 2018, in this country, we experienced that the NGO was established by Mother Teresa and being run in her name. The officials of that NGO were caught in the trafficking of the newborn baby in the name of adoption. तो जहां हम संतों के नाम पे चलने वाली ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस पे विश्वास नहीं कर सकते, वहां बच्चों के मामले में we can't trust on anybody, और किसी भी तरीके से एडॉप्शन के नियमों को शिथिल करने की या उसमें कोई रिलैक्सेशन की मुझे कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है.
It's a very important statement, Priyank, that you're making, because there have been multiple arguments on social media and the public domain that do we need streamlining or simplification of the adoption laws in the country. The chairperson of the NCPCR is saying no, we need a thorough procedure with checks and balances, and there is no thought of changing these processes. Dhananjay ji, I'm coming to you. You work with Bachpan Bachao Andolan. You are part of a lot of helping a lot of children who might be victims of exploitation and discrimination. When you look at COVID orphans or various children who have lost both their parents, is adoption the way to help them? Do you agree with Priyank that we do not need to change the adoption laws in the country?
I surely fully agree with Priyank ji on this, that we don't need to change the adoption laws. And what he said, that adoption in the past have been involved, people have been involved in issue of trafficking and selling and buying of children. And recently, just today, it was in the newspaper of Ghaziabad, there was a case in which a group was arrested for selling and buying of the children. So adoption laws are made keeping the best interest of the child in mind. And no ill doing or any kind of exploitation should take place in the name of adoption. But on the other hand, this pandemic has also thrown lots of openings and the new things which were already mentioned in the Juvenile Justice Act, but they were not being put into force. Now, I think because of pandemic, now is a time when we should put those factors like foster care, guardianship, sponsorship of children,
all those things should be promoted. I'm coming to Kulbir Krishnan as well. Kulbir ji, understanding from you, your view on any possible tweaking, streamlining or simplifying adoption laws in the country. Do we really require it? In your experience, are there alternative models like financing, like promoting kinship, sponsorship, guardianship that we should look at beyond adoption, beyond the debate of adoption in the country? Kulbir ji.
First of all, I must clarify, I was not a member of the NCPCR.
All right.
I was an advisor in the NCPCR.
I correct that, sir.
Yeah. The fact is that the principle which we follow is best interests of the child. And the best interests of the child require a family kind of environment. It could be through adoption, it could be through foster care, it could be through a guardianship, it could be through a number of other means. But sending a child to a rehabilitation or a school or something is the last option, because there you do not get the family atmosphere. There you are more like a regimented, and even in those shelter homes, there have been lots of cases of abuse and misuse and things like that. So what we are concerned is that the children should be well taken care of. For this purpose, adoption is considered the best view, and the government is not oblivious of the fact. In fact, in February this year, the Juvenile Justice Act was amended to make adoption easier, and district magistrates and additional district magistrates were empowered to issue adoption orders. So it becomes much easier. You don't have to wait for 5 years. You can do it at a local level. Similarly, now what has happened is that even the Anganwadis and others have been roped in by the social, Ministry of Women and Child Welfare, so that any child who is without care is being brought to the notice of the ministry, whether through Childline or whether through NCPCR, and or through any other means, through the police.
So gentlemen, I can safely say that all three of you agree that adoption rules in the country, and if they are tedious or stringent, it's because of a reason, because you want to make sure that the interests of children are safeguarded. Having said that, to tackle the present crisis, what are the alternative models that we need to look at? Sponsorship, kinship. Priyank, my question to you, perhaps would you start thinking of a proposal where people can come online, support children, financially if they want to, because these are emotive pleas. A lot of people want to come forward, help children. Yes, the kinship model in a structure like India's is very commendable, but that needs to be augmented, especially in rural parts where there could be huge problem of unemployment, rising debts. Children might be pulling out of school.
Yes. I agree with your concern. And for this, there are juvenile justice funds at the state level. And we are requesting to all state governments to create, if there are no juvenile justice fund in the state, please create as per section 105 of the Juvenile Justice Act. And please disseminate the information about your account number in the public domain. So people can who want to contribute, they can contribute to Juvenile Justice Fund. And please ensure a sponsorship as per the provision of Section 45 of Juvenile Justice Act. especially Commission has designed an online real-time tracking system, a digital tracking system for these children, where we can track each and every child right from beginning, from production of the CWC to the completion of individual care plan, and linking with them the sponsorship schemes also. In 1 or 2 days, we are in position to give it to the state governments. Then we will be able to track these children in real time,
Okay.
and we will be able to help like various means of sponsorship, and we can give a uniform platform for the donors and for the
And Priyanka, I can tell you, take this as an honest feedback that I know a lot of people who want to come forward and help these children. And if there is a way on social media, on the website of NCPCR, where people can come forward, click and donate, it will be a very heartening step for all the children who are suffering in this crisis. Before,
Yes, Anusha,
yeah,
and we will create in 1 or 2 days most likely.
we'll await that very good announcement. Before I go to my other guests and talk about these critical questions, there's a concern, similar concerns were echoed by Dr. Randeep Guleria as well, where he said that the collateral damage of this pandemic on children has been very worrisome. Listen in to Dr. Randeep Guleria.
बच्चों में या यंग एडल्ट्स में कोलैटरल डैमेज बहुत हुआ है. दे आर द बैकबोन ऑफ सोसाइटी, दे आर द फ्यूचर ऑफ द कंट्री. लेकिन अगर हम बात करें इंटरप्टेड अपॉर्चुनिटीज़, बच्चों में कुछ एजुकेशन की जो अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ थी, पढ़ाई आगे करना चाह रहे थे, सही सब चीज़ें जो है काफ़ी हद तक इंटरप्ट हुई हैं, और न्यूट्रिशनल इश्यूज भी है.
Kulbir Krishnan, I'm coming to you. After the pandemic, or even during the pandemic, because this is going to be an extended period we're looking at, a UN report on human rights raises some very serious questions and concerns about the increasing instances of child trafficking, and they are likely to go up. I was speaking to Dhananjay the other day, and he raised similar concerns that yes, these are instances which will be witnessed. We could see more children being pushed into child labor. Trafficking instances may increase. What is it that we as a society and legal system can proactively do to curb these instances? Because we've been forewarned.
No, this is a real danger. It cannot be disregarded. But what Dr. Guleria was saying, it is not only physical, there's a lot of emotional trauma, there's a lot of mental trauma which the children have undergone, especially those who have seen their parents or loved ones die. So a lot of work has to be done. And NCPCR had way back in 2017 produced one POXO app. Now if they produce an app for adoption, it will make the job much easier for CARA and for other, agencies which are for special adoption agencies. And they can do it quickly. They have the competence. So this is just a suggestion for the NCPCR. Similarly, if we have a central fund, with a particular account number, that this is for the children who COVID victims, it will really help a big way in rehabilitating them. But then we should have a proper trustee, a group of people who will look after this and make sure that the fund is utilized for the purposes it is meant for.
Dhananjay ji, I'm taking forward all the suggestions that Kulbir ji also made here. How is it that we can streamline the process of these alternate remedies, kinship, financing education, helping the relatives who are raising the children get financial support or any other support that they require? In your understanding and assessment, the second part that I want to understand from you, proactively making sure that trafficking, those instances don't rise. What is it that the government and the legal system can do?
Ma'am, one of the most important thing is proper accountability and the monitoring systems to be in place. Even for the kinship, foster care, guardianship, there has to be a proper monitoring and of the child's welfare is being done. As far as whatever the systems are there, they all are already mentioned. There's nothing new which is being talked about.
True.
All systems are there. Funds were the only thing which is required is the fund allocation for all of them. That's the most important thing which is of the president. Juvenile Justice Fund, which Mr. Karungo talked about, is already being mentioned in the law which came in 4 years back. But many states have not created that yet.
True. That
needs to be created, and that fund has a unique that the fund, even the CSR funds can be donated into that. Creation of fund, utilization of fund is another thing which needs to be done thoroughly. Similarly, in cases of trafficking, the district administrations and the state government will have to take the responsibility to ensure that all the children are enrolled in the school. There's a strict monitoring at the level of the in the transportation modes at the district level, and the seriousness is shown about it. Last year, when BBA team was involved in just when the lockdown was opening up from August till end of September, October,
Yeah.
we rescued more than 350 children while being trafficked. So it has to be done. The information network has to be set up, and the government needs to act on a priority basis, keeping this in mind that the safety of children is the priority at present.
Priyank,
Children are vulnerable,
that's
they
a
will
very
become more
important
vulnerable.
point that Dhananjay ji is making. There are a lot of funds that had to be set up under the Juvenile Justice Act had not been set up at the local level. Is there any audit that you're going to do? Because I agree, there's a big task that you have at hand. Look at the size of our country, over 700 districts in our country, with the population that we have, to monitor door to door in rural parts. It's going to be a very difficult task. But that being said, with the mechanism that we already have in place, is there any audit that you're going to do at the
Yes.
state or the district level?
Yes, Anusha, we have reviewed all the state child protection societies and all the mechanism of Juvenile Justice Act during the second wave of the COVID, though during first wave of the COVID, sorry, in the month of November and December. And that's why we are requesting all the state governments to share the account number of Juvenile Justice Fund within 10 days time, and in a day or maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, we are issuing this direction to all the state governments. We are requesting all these chief secretaries
Yeah.
to share the account number of Juvenile Justice Fund
You know,
within 10
Priyank,
days.
I've gone through the multiple letters you've written to various ministries and authority, proactively requesting them to be prepared for the third wave of the pandemic. If it affects children adversely. But there is a need for people to know more that they can do in terms of helping children on the ground in rural parts. That transparency needs to be brought in our tedious mechanisms that have been put in place. My last question, Kulbir Krishnan, I want to understand from you, and perhaps all of you can pitch in. All these pictures which are shared of children on social media, whether it's about a girl asking for a mobile phone to be found, or the children beside the pyre, those unfortunate scenes of children beside the pyre of their deceased parents, is it legal to share the picture of minor children on social media? Just an information in the public domain. Kulbir Krishnan, you want to go first?
In my view, it's totally illegal. It's an invasion of privacy. And when these people are all victims. They are children in need of protection and care. And when we go to great extent to say in the law that the name will not be revealed, if you reveal the photograph, the very purpose is being defeated. And I'd like to bring one more thing in. Every high court has a social welfare board,
Yes.
and at the Honorable Supreme Court had a board which was earlier headed by Justice Madan Lokur.
Yes.
And he was a very proactive judge, and he worked very hard. And in fact, he used to keep NCPCR and all state child rights bodies on their toes.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
because he was asking so many questions and inquiring and looking into it. So the whole process is always under judicial scrutiny, and we have to be absolutely. In fact, we would welcome if the Honorable Supreme Court also pitches in and says that take these steps, and it's a national effort which all of us should do together.
Dhananjay Tingle, in terms of a lot of pleas that you see on social media of coming forward, helping children, what do you say to all those people who want to help children at a time of crisis like this? What is it that I can do as an individual to help various children or various instances that I come across?
Ma'am, before that, before I answer this, I would just like to say one more thing.
Sure.
Keeping the third wave and the effect of children. Today only our founder, Nobel laureate Mr. Satyarthi, has raised the demand of making health as a fundamental right. And that is important because keeping in view what has happened in the pandemic, and a lot many people lost life because of non-availability of the medical support.
Yeah.
So that is one of the important things. Second thing which you asked that about what a normal common people can do. One of the most important thing is whenever you see a child who is in need of care and protection, he or she should be reported immediately to the enforcement agencies like child welfare committees, district child protection unit, police, so that the child can come into a protective care of the government agencies. That's the first and foremost thing.
Right.
And we have, in BPA, we have been working We have got more than 550 calls across India. And everywhere I can say that we have requested the district administration to take action. Even in many cases, we have informed NCPCR and all carriers to all of them. The action has been taken within 2 hours of our reporting the cases.
Priyank, last word to you. The third wave, though Dr. Randeep Guleria today said that there is no evidence to show that it's going to hit children adversely, but we are on an alert. In the third wave, what is the role, if it affects children, God forbid, in an adverse manner? In what way, in what manner can NCPCR help? Because the experts are saying here, not just losing your parents, emotional burden, dropping out of education. There is a very proactive and constructive role that the authority like you can play.
We will ensure no child should drop out due to loss of his or her parents, either in private school or in government school. We have developed a mechanism, and we are recommending it to state governments, right? And as far as concerned about third wave, I am very glad to know about Dr. Randeep Guleria's statement that children may not affected, but still we are ensuring all preparations should be in the line, and we will ensure all PQs or NICUs or NNCUs will be equipped with all the machinery which they have, and all the machinery should be functional for to treat the children.
And Priyank, we look forward to that numbers or those avenues on social media, on the internet, where people can come forward and help children when they want to. But I appreciate you joining us on the broadcast, answering all those questions. Kulbir Krishnan, Dhananjay Tingle. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Yes, we must debate, like any other law in the country, and talk about adoption laws, whether they require simplification. But as far as the COVID orphan crisis in the country is concerned, that's only part of the solution. A larger solution lies in promoting models of kinship, financial support that we can offer to various children who might be with their extended relatives. In a society like India, it's a different, nuanced and a tailored approach that every child requires, and we hope that authorities like NCPCR buckle up and reach to every town and district in our country. With that, it's a wrap. Thank you for watching this side.